Hello. We are speaking with Arlene Cisneros Sena, who's one of the participating artists in the exhibition Las Santeras, Images of Faith and Folklore at the Harwood Museum. This show is co-curated by Gustavo Victor Goller and curator of the Harwood, Nicole Dial-Kay. So tell me, Arlene, where were you raised and where do you live now?
Well, I was raised in Santa Fe. I still live in Santa Fe. I haven't really ventured outside of Santa Fe very often. But I was born in San Luis, Colorado by accident. I was supposed to be born in Costilla, New Mexico. I go back generations in Costilla and Cuesta. And we were coming back from southern Colorado, and I was born in San Luis, and then a year later, my mom did it again, and my sister was born in the car in the parking lot of the same clinic.
Oh my God! But you actually made it into the clinic.
I did. I made it into the clinic, and that's my only connection really to San Luis, Colorado.
And you have other connections with Cuesta, though, don't you? Or
my dad was born and raised in Cuesta. Again, we go back generations in northern New Mexico, Cuesta, Costilla, Taos. Wonderful. And so I'm norteña.
Right, right. How many years have you been an artist, and how did you become an artist?
Oh, gosh. I've been an artist all my life. I was encouraged early on to draw, to be creative. My dad was my biggest supporter, and to this day, it's probably why I kept the name Cisneros as a tribute to him. My parents were very encouraging, very supportive, but my dad was the one who was pretty tickled about my being an artist. As you know, a young artist, I would decorate sets for plays. I was very creative. And continued that for most of my life.
Is it, so you've been a professional artist. That's how you have made more or less your living. Did you have a profession that sort of went along with that? Or?
No, I had to make a living. And so I worked in insurance for some time. I worked at a law firm for a very long time. And it was at the Catron Law Firm where I finally decided, you know what, I had cut my hours down to part-time because I wanted to pursue my art. And it was really quite nice when Tom Catron said to me, what took you so long? You need to do this. And so they supported me throughout. It was an eye opener, and I'm really happy that I did it in the way I did.
That's great. That's great. How old were you then, do you think?
Gosh. Well, I've been doing this 30 years, but as a santera, I've been working for 30 years. As an artist, I wasn't making a very good living. I was a part-time artist, and I was painting sort of Southwestern imagery, much like everyone else was, but it was a sideline. It was something in order to be creative. Right. I also took up cake decorating at one point, and that was by accident. And before I knew it, I had a full-fledged business out of my home. But great. It was another creative outlet.
For sure, for sure. Was anyone else in your family an artist?
My whole family. I come from a family of artists. My siblings, my brother, Fred, and my daughter, Dee, both own graphic design firms. Mm-hmm. Very successful design firms. My granddaughters now are artists. My sisters, in their own way, are artists, and I guess I don't know. My dad was probably a closet artist, and my mother was a teacher. So her bulletin boards were wonderful.
You were surrounded by it.
Yeah, and my paternal grandfather, apparently, I didn't know him. He died long before I was born, but he was the one who went off into the hills where he went. He was a sheep herder. And so when he would return, he'd come back with these fabulous drawings of paints, pencil on flour sack.
Right.
So it's kind of nice to know that I had that in my background.
And were you influenced by any artist in any way, a santera artist or other devotional artists as you began your sort of your santera career?
Well, Lee Rommel, who is not a santera, but a very important, very legendary artist here in Santa Fe, and a friend. I know that early on, just to have an outlet, I took a painting class with her. She's the one who taught me to have confidence in my work. You know, there was Sister Ann Joachim in St. Anne's who taught me that I was a developing artist and really encouraged that. Charlie Carrillo said to me one time, continue what you're doing, just the way you're doing it, and don't compromise your style.
Yep.
My brother Fred, who was involved with Spanish Colonial Art Society at the time, is the one who urged me to come into Spanish Market.
Yeah, we all sort of need people to encourage us and sort of make us believe in ourselves sometimes.
Exactly. For instance, for me, Richard, my husband, not only inspires and promotes and supports, but he helps with anything I need and gets me where I need to be. So you need all of that.
Right. I've seen him hauling your backdrop around.
That's exactly right.
So I know that you're primarily a painter. You might carve a little bit as well. Do you explore any other different mediums and techniques in sort of the cultural arts of New Mexico?
Oh gosh, I guess I feel as though painting and drawing are my medium.
Right.
I've painted in oil for years. But when I found santos and doing it in the way I'm doing with the traditional techniques, I used to have carved elements on my retablos, and I've tried carving bultos before, so I have perhaps a couple. But I have a whole respect for the carvers and what it takes to take out and what not to take out. So frankly, I really, in answer to that question, I guess I love painting. It's where my joy comes from.
You're more a painter. I asked that just because I know some of the other santeras do either straw applique or they may be carvers as well. And so, how would you describe your work and your thought process to get to a piece,
Yeah. How do I describe it? I guess, well, let's say this. I'm nun raised. And so I came out of parochial school, and the first thing that I remember about that is that as a reward for anything that you did good, you received a holy card that perhaps had lace or gold leaf or gold foil. And I think that's where that comes from, is that I love things ornate, and I love things that that are embellished. And so I often describe my work as traditional New Mexican, using the traditional techniques, the just natural pigments style, this embellished style that I love. And maybe I attribute that to, I don't know, my growing up days.
Right. Let's see. Do you have any memorable projects or awards that are maybe important to you that, meant something, solidified something in your career?
Yeah, that's a hard question. one of the most
There's so
important
many,
projects,
right?
huh?
So many projects and awards. So,
Well, I completed an altar screen in 2003 with Robert Montoya, a master craftsman, for the Cathedral Basilica here in Santa Fe. And I have to say that to this day, that's probably one of the most important. It's based on the life of Saint Joseph, but it happened at a time. I completed this piece at a time when my mother had just passed, and my father only, well, he was gone within a couple of months. And so I would dedicate this piece to them.
right.
Now, Robert and I have continued to team up for several other large-scale projects, and there have been a few, but this is the one that I think really means it's my heart. It means
Yeah.
something to me.
It's a great one, because it's in a public place too. People can go see it, so that's
Sure,
really
yeah.
wonderful. I'm assuming most of your altars are probably in public places. But.
Yes, and I've done things like reproductions onto tile murals and that sort of thing that are in public places. But I remember early on when I began doing what I'm doing, I thought, oh yeah, museums are great and public places are great, but a church means something to me, and so to have that done at the time that was important to me means a lot to this day.
Definitely. Definitely. Simple question. Do you consider yourself a santera or an artist?
I'm proud to call myself a santera.
Okay.
I've been an artist all my life,
Right.
but for the last few years, I am a santera. Someone said to me a long time ago, when you're given the gift, you honor the gift. And what that says to me is that, it's a God-given gift and you have to honor it in some way. And as I said, I'm proud to call myself a santera.
Oh, nice. And then lastly, just if there's anything else that you would like to say about your work or yourself.
Gosh, what I can say is that as a santera, I work in a man's world. And so what that means to me is that it comes with some challenges. I love what I do, but there are challenges. How many times have I been asked, who carves your wood for you, or who cuts your wood for you? I've been an artist all my life. I had to learn how to do things because, frankly, I didn't have anyone here. Richard was working or somewhere off in some country somewhere. And so I had to learn how to maneuver tools, how to figure out which wood was best and what isn't, and what C-select is, and what's furniture grade, and 5/4 and whatever. And so I think there are times that question is still, does she really know? And so, in the early days, it would be only the only the men who would interact with the public, with the general public. I'm talking about colonial times. And so, but it stands to reason that women were involved. Someone was making the wigs and the gowns for these beautiful pieces, but they just didn't get the credit. And so today, we're getting the credit, yes, but there's still a little bit of a challenge. And so I can laugh at it, but it's better today. I can say that.
Well, that's the whole reason for the exhibition.
With those challenges comes a real pride in doing what I do. It's a blessing.